I'm going to show you what he says, talk about it, and prove that this guy is a cookbook. Coach Greg, and I got a bone to pick with this guy. His name is Tech Lead. He's got 1.4 million followers, and he has the audacity to post this video. Muscles shorten your life. How to live longer. And so I got sent this video by a number of people saying, Coach Greg, got to make a video on this.
Muscles can kill you. You're going to shorten your lifespan that way. A lot of the bodybuilders actually don't live past 48. That's the average age that they live to.
And so he begins the video by discouraging everyone from going out there and lifting weights, saying, yeah, you're celebrating making the gains, but those gains, they're going to kill you. After all, it's going to cause cardiovascular disease, and that the average age of death for a bodybuilder is close to 48 years of age. And so you're thinking, wow, 48. But how many old people bodybuild? It's kind of like that study that said the average age of death for a marathon runner somewhere in the early 50s. But how many people 80, 90 years old are actually running marathons? And so if you only study the people who are actively bodybuilding and say, what age did they die? Is it actually a fair comparison? And if you think of it, do you think these people are dying because they were working out, building muscles? Or do you think it might maybe have something to do with the abuse of performance-enhancing drugs? Like, really think about it.
The problem is that we have this epidemic of influencers and social media online just promoting the gym, supplements, protein powders, and you have to understand that this is a big business.
And so his beef is that there's a bunch of social media influencers, fit guys like Sean Nalajwick, perhaps Coach Greg, Jeff Cavalier, and that we promote the use of protein powders, going to the gym and lifting weights and doing 150 minutes of cardiovascular activity every single week. And so he says because of that, people are going to die an early death, and that we don't want you to know the truth, that we're actually lying to you in secret for profit. We want to make more money than last time, and so we lie to you and tell you to go to the gym, to work out, to eat a healthy diet, because it makes us money. And that if we actually told you the truth, we'd say, hey, stay away from the gym. Don't work out. All that stuff, it's going to shorten your life.
A lot of people just didn't believe it. They were making fun of me, saying I'm some wimp, some soy boy programmer nerd.
And so, yeah, they stated these things about you because, well, let's look at Exhibit A. You're sitting there, you have a Google desk job, you promote people to be sedentary, to not work out, and you think that if you have muscle, that it's somehow going to shorten your life. But you never even for 1 second mention that these people are dying, probably abusing steroids.
Muscles equals health. No, muscles maybe make you stronger, but doesn't mean you're going to live longer by any means.
I don't think anyone thinks that muscle equals health. However, having some muscles, of course, is associated with longevity. If you look at studies on longevity, those who are the weakest have the least amount of muscle. They, in fact, live shorter lives. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a Mr. Olympia caliber bodybuilder, but I am saying that if you have very weak muscles, that you're frail, you don't work out, that yes, that in fact can shorten your life.
And all people have the same size of heart. It's like your heart is now trying to support an elephant.
I mean, I've only a minute and a half in the video, and look at the nonsense this guy's saying. Oh, all people have the same size heart. Really? Well, when I used to teach physical education as a school teacher, I used to teach kids that most people have a heart about the size of their fist. And so if you look at a 100-pound female in comparison to a 300-pound male, the 300-pound male probably going to have a bigger heart than a 100-pound female. And so if you have more muscle than someone, then it's going to put too much strain on your heart. Do you really think that if you go to the gym and perhaps train your entire body twice a week, and that you train natural, that you're going to put on so much muscle that it's going to put so much strain that your heart isn't going to be able to handle it? You're going to perhaps die at the age of 50. Are you kidding me?
And a heart has a limited number of beats, which is going to last longer. A car sitting in a garage or a car that's just revving at 5,000 RPMs in neutral.
And so is there no in between? For example, my McLaren, if I don't ever take it for a drive, it could die out the battery. It's not good. You actually want to take it for a drive. And so just like a car, you're supposed to go and work out your body. And yeah, you shouldn't overtrain. You shouldn't do it too much. But you also shouldn't do nothing. Does he not understand there's a happy medium? Somewhere in the middle, it's all about balance.
I am 2X first aid certified.
And so we have to listen to this guy. I mean, he's got 2 first aid certifications. I mean, he studied first aid. In comparison, I only have a master's in kinesiology. And so what would I know? This guy, he studied first aid.
All of the gyms happen to have these AED devices to resuscitate people during heart failure, stroke. A abnormally high percentage of heart failure happens at the gym.
And for being a smart guy and calling people out and saying, oh, you guys don't know how to think clearly, how does this guy not know how to think? He's saying, why would they have a defibrillator in a gym? all these fit people working out. Does every person that goes to the gym look fit to you? There are people every single year. Go to a gym in January. Half the gym is filled with people lifting for the very first time. New Year's resolution to get in shape. And remember, accidents can happen anywhere. And so regardless if you're in a gym or perhaps you're on a plane or on a boat, you're going to have a defibrillator. It just makes sense. People are looking out for safety.
So we can actually see here some of the data. Bodybuilders die around age 48.
And so no, the average bodybuilder is not going to die at the age of 48. And even if it was the case, let's assume that it was actually right. If you ever did a bodybuilding show, you die at 48. Do you think it's for natural bodybuilders? This is for professional bodybuilders who are competing. And so if you actually look at some of the most famous bodybuilders in the world, would you say the average bodybuilder died at 48? Who are some of the most famous bodybuilders that you can think of? Perhaps Arnold Schwarzenegger? Do you really think Arnold was natural?
The heart is simply not strong enough, in my belief, to support these big muscles.
He's saying the heart just simply isn't big enough to support these big muscles. Unlike Michael Hearn, who says, hey, hearts are very strong. They can support people who are 600 pounds of fat. You don't need to do cardio. You just need to lift weights. And so no, I'm not going to go that far. I don't think that the heart is made to support people who are 500 or 600 pounds, but certainly can support somebody who goes to the gym 3 times a week and has 20 pounds more muscle than they would have without training.
What about medium muscles? Are you going to live longer? Yeah, maybe a little bit longer for medium muscles.
And so he says if you extrapolate this data, then perhaps medium-sized muscles can help you to live longer. And so why doesn't he start the video with that? Hey everyone, I want to promote the fact that you should train natural, that medium-sized muscles, the kind you can build while training natural, that can help you to live longer. But if you abuse performance-enhancing drugs and build massive, huge muscles like that of professional bodybuilders, that can shorten your life. I could go with that, but this isn't the video he's making.
There's a lot of big money in the fitness industry. You've got gyms, protein powders, equipment, supplements, and they're going to try to obscure the data, hide this from you.
And so he's comparing the fitness industry, guys like myself or Sean Naljoy, and he's saying that perhaps we're trying to hide these things in the way that the cigarette industry was doing so. Really? You comparing us saying to go lift weights is equal to telling people that smoking cigarettes is not harmful?
You'll quickly find this type of news story of deaths associated with muscle building happens year after year.
And so, yeah, there are deaths associated with muscle building year after year. Does he talk about the fact that perhaps these people had genetic predispositions? That they perhaps were given those shots that we were told we should do? Or that these people were perhaps taking performance-enhancing drugs? He doesn't mention that. Oh, it's just that they go to the gym and lift weights.
The results are startling. The highest death rate is actually among men who exercise the longest and hardest. Who would have believed that?
And so he cherry-picked studies, making it look like those who exercise over 140 minutes a week are those who die the soonest, the earliest. Really? When we all know that VO2 max is the #1 predictor of longevity, and that those with the highest VO2 max, those that really train harder than last time, the elite, the best of the best, that those people live the longest? And so why is he cherry-picking this study when he could be looking at all the others?
The guys who do hardly any vigorous exercise had a lower death rate than the people who do the most. So this may sound counterintuitive.
Yeah, it is counterintuitive. It's not correct. That's why it's counterintuitive. You're just spewing bullshit.
At first, but there's so much data backing this up. And so we can see here, the cardiovascular deaths amongst pro bodybuilders compared to American men.
And so why didn't he just say, yeah, pro bodybuilders, they're oftentimes abusing steroids, and so it's not healthy. I mean, I've quite literally done videos on this in the past. I've stated, if you're a professional bodybuilder abusing steroids, you're probably just as unhealthy as somebody who doesn't work out that's morbidly obese. Both extremes are not good.
Pro wrestlers, WWF people happen to die much earlier than people in other sports.
What do you think pro wrestlers are doing? You really think Hulk Hogan's natural? That he had the 24-inch python?
The largest arms in the world.
You think he got all those muscles from saying his prayers and eating the vitamins? Of course not. And in comparison, most professional sports, they actually do steroid drug tests for performance-enhancing drugs. Not saying that none of them actually use performance-enhancing drugs, but at least they test for it, and so it's a little bit harder to use them.
You know, even if you take a look at pro bodybuilders compared to NFL players, MLB players, their death rate is almost double that of in other sports.
I mean, does this guy never heard of a steroid? Does this guy have no clue that bodybuilders can use steroids? He doesn't know this? He doesn't realize this?
You know, some of this is related to using steroids or performance-enhancing drugs. So while, yes, the drugs and steroids can explain some of the deaths.
And so, yeah, it explains some of the deaths. It might, in fact, explain nearly all of them.
And you still may be shaving off 2 years, 5 years, 10 years off of your life just by trying to look good on social media.
Trying to look good is not going to shave off 2, 5, 10, or 20 years off your life if you're doing it natural in a healthy way. If you're going to the gym, doing cardio and eating healthy. But being sedentary, eating like shit, being a couch potato, that could shave off years of your life.
Correlation between heart failure and muscles continues to be alarming, and even more so when you consider the young age at which too many pro bodybuilders are dying from heart failure.
Correlation does not equal causation. How many times have we heard this by now? In practically every single study, people say, this caused that. No, it didn't. There are co-founding factors, namely steroids.
Muscles don't attract women, just like how fast cars don't attract women. Muscles attract men.
Muscles do not attract women. Really, no woman has ever looked at a guy with a chiseled physique, a little bit of muscle, and thought, yeah, that guy looks attractive. Fast cars don't attract women. Are you kidding me? What's next? Taller guys are not more attractive than shorter guys? If you're a 5'6" manlet like Coach Greg, you really think you can look as good as somebody who's 6'2" and also good looking? Of course not. This guy lives in a bizarro fantasy world where he thinks that nothing actually matters.
Turns out most women surprisingly aren't attracted to huge muscles. They like just normal people.
And so apparently women just like normal people. But even back in the 1930s, girls actually liked a little bit of muscle. And so again, he cherry picks a video, picking out a few girls. Yet I also did a video comparing what physiques women liked. And for the most part, it was somewhere between 10 and 15% body fat. And yeah, the guy in fact lifted weights. They did not prefer the guy that had no muscle whatsoever. And so the average woman does in fact prefer a guy with a little bit of muscle. You don't need to be jacked, a professional bodybuilder. You don't need to be shredded. But you do, in fact, need to be healthy if you want to be seen as highly attractive to most women.
Then the other thing to know is a lot of the bodybuilders out there are loading up on protein. They eat a lot of eggs. It's not necessarily healthy. It turns out to have an association with liver failure.
No, eating the recommended amount of protein to maximize building muscle, for example, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, is not associated with liver disease, liver problems, liver failure. It's just bullshit what this guy's saying.
Now let's take a look at women. Okay, women who hit the gym, who are weightlifting.
But now it really gets worse. This is where I said, yeah, I gotta do a video. And this guy starts picking on women who go to the gym, women who work out. He's literally saying that if you're a woman and you go lift weights, it's going to boost your testosterone levels so much, you're gonna get a deep voice, grow a mustache, and become infertile. Does that not sound like a woman who goes to the gym and uses steroids? Really?
When you do that, that resistance training triggers an abnormal hormonal testosterone response that builds up in their bloodstreams.
Really? Are you guys hearing this? Are you listening to what the nonsense this guy is spewing?
And this can cause a loss of feminine qualities, deeper voice, or even infertility, and that stress can induce issues with pregnancy, like abortion.
And so, yeah, all the girls out there going to the gym, lifting natural, probably going to cause abortion, probably going to turn you into a man.
And testosterone itself, and the overloading of that has been linked to cancer as well. And so as it turns out, a lot of women bodybuilders end up infertile.
And does he not think that these women bodybuilders who end up infertile, tragically, does he not think that maybe some of them were taking steroids? Like, really?
People are just afraid to tell women this truth because they're going to get canceled.
And so he thinks that us fitness influencers, that we don't dare say this for fear of getting canceled. Oh my goodness. If we spoke the truth to women that if they go and work out, they're going to become infertile, who could say that? The reason we don't say it is because it's bullshit.
In my opinion, bodybuilding for women is essentially sterilization.
And so in his opinion, I mean, this is where he should get canceled. Bodybuilding for women is sterilization. He's literally saying that in the future, they should disqualify and disallow people from competing lifting weights if they're female.
If you take a look at like K-pop stars, for example, and like some of the Japanese people or Asian people out there are living the longest out of any society.
And so he thinks that K-pop stars are living the longest because they don't bodybuild. Well, last I checked, K-pop stars do in fact work out. I've done videos on these people. And the reason they're living so long is because they're not eating a ton of shit and they're doing cardio. They're moving more. Less of them are morbidly obese. They move more, have less access to junk food, and so they care more about their health. It has nothing to do with the fact that they don't have big muscles, but more to do with their lifestyle choice.
It's quite possible that 100 years from now, every single gym and weightlifting facility will be banned, kind of like how cigarettes were banned.
And so it's quite likely in 100 years from now, they'll ban all people from working out. It'll kind of be like cigarettes. They'll make it illegal. You can't do it. It's too harmful. This is complete and utter nonsense bullshit. I can't believe the guy made this video. I can hardly believe he made it, let alone post it.
80% of statistics are just made up on the spot. You see, as a scientist myself.
And so he says, as a scientist myself, I know that all these statistics oftentimes are made up. And so what do you think you did with your own research? What do you think you did with your own statistics? You cherry-picked data that purported your argument. You never presented both sides, and you didn't even research it enough. You overemphasized the fact that they lift weights and never emphasized the fact that it's likely from using steroids.
If you have big muscles, maybe you get to age 48. If you have medium muscles, you get a few years longer. And if you want to live really long, maybe go for more of a moderate, natural approach.
And so he says, if you have big muscles, you're going to live to about 48. If you have medium muscles, well, you're going to live a bit longer. But if you have no muscles, well, you're going to live forever, perhaps as long as Brian Johnson. But we know that Brian Johnson is lifting weights every single day and is on HRT. The guy is literally taking testosterone. And so if it was so bad to have muscles, why would Brian Johnson be lifting weights?
You know, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to this. Who are you going to believe?
And so I asked you the same question. At the end of the day, who are you going to believe? This guy that used to work for Google, that studied first aid once and so thinks himself as an expert? Or someone like Coach Greg, who's got a master's in kinesiology and studied this his entire life?
Are you going to listen to me, ex-Google, ex-Facebook tech lead, not to be underestimated how intelligent I am? I seem smart. I am smart.
Is this really a serious question? A tech genius type guy that does programming for computers, that's really good at using computers and does Facebook stuff? Or someone who has a master's in kinesiology, studied the human body his entire life?
Nobody seems capable of any real thought anymore these days. We're living in the social media echo chamber.
Yeah, like yourself. You're spewing nonsense bullshit. Makes no sense. Have you really thought about this? Now, if you do in fact care about your health and number one priority is longevity, then please do 150 minutes of cardio a week. Train your entire body with weights 2 times a week. Eat healthy. Don't neglect your fitness and don't allow yourself to become obese. And the number one supplement I recommend for longevity, for being healthy, for your heart, the number one muscle in your body, GO2 Max. The main ingredient, NMN, been studied in double-blind, placebo-controlled human studies, real studies. So you've heard me say this in hundreds of videos. You know by now just how effective this is in the real world. And it's not just in couch potatoes or old people. It's also in experienced runners. And so please click the link in the description, code Greg, 10%.
Let me know which you're optimizing for, muscles or lifespan.
And so whether you're optimizing for lifespan or muscles, you shouldn't become obese, you should be lifting weights, and you should also be doing cardio. It's all about balance. But one thing you shouldn't be doing is using performance-enhancing drugs. And remember, GO2 Max, it's not banned by WADA, it's not a performance-enhancing drugs. Although NMN is banned for sale on Amazon, you can get it on my website, code Greg, 10% off. Click the link in the description. And of course, if you're looking for the number one cookbook you can get for low-calorie, high-protein, voluminous recipes, look no further than Cookbook 3.0. It's brand new on my website, both the PDF and the hard copy. 180 of my best recipes of all time. Get the book, make the recipes, be on your road to your health and fitness journey. Got no money? Just head over to my website, enter your first and last name and email address, sending you a free up to 50-page diet and training program. We're trying to have everyone the capability to get in the shape of their life. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost that algorithm. Don't forget to like the video. Also, watch one of those 2 bloops, cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet book, also the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. You can get it all on my website. And until next time, I am out.